Why do they keep dismissing my feelings? The frustration from yesterday lingered, and when I finally spoke to them, my words cut sharper than I intended. Their response was to clear the space around them. "It's going to be a great new room for Emily," they said, brushing aside everything I had mentioned just the day before and moving my things out without my consent. "Have you forgotten what I said yesterday? Stop this right now. Abigail, remember your place. I'm the one paying the rent here. What right do you have to question my decisions?" Oliver snapped, his disdain evident. Beside him, Emily wore a satisfied smile. "I'm the one covering the bills. You haven't contributed at all, so you don't get a say. If you can't support my choices, maybe we should think about separating." I'm Abigail, 28 years old and constantly juggling my corporate job. I've been married to Oliver for 4 years. He's seen as a rising star at work, always pushing himself to meet high expectations. We live in a beautifully updated house, chosen when we dreamed of a family. Despite the ups and downs in our relationship, we've managed to communicate and thought we were happy together. But one evening, returning home later than usual, I noticed an unfamiliar woman's coat by the door. Walking into the living room, I found my sister-in-law, Emily, who greeted me with, "Ah, Abigail, it's been a while. You were late, so we started without you." Emily, 24, Oliver's younger sister, has always caused tension between us. Although she excels academically and professionally, she relishes belittling me with her cutting remarks. Despite my best efforts to ignore her insults, Emily's audacity only seemed to grow. Frustrated, I decided it was best to keep my distance, but that wasn't the only issue. Oliver's treatment of me added to the strain. Oliver is usually kind and gentle when it's just the two of us. However, when Emily is around, he becomes dismissive and cruel. I can't help but wonder if he's trying to impress her, but the way he treats me is unacceptable, even after I voiced my concerns. With Emily constantly questioning my late work hours, the situation became intolerable. "Staying late at work again, Abigail? I always finish my tasks on time. Are you struggling to keep up, or are you just slow?" Emily's words, sharper than ever, were fueled by her tipsiness. Normally, I could handle her jabs, but with Oliver chiming in after a few drinks, it escalated into a level of discomfort I hadn't anticipated. "Let's be fair, Emily. Not everyone has the same level of efficiency. Some of us need to put in extra hours to achieve what comes easily to others. It's unfair to judge everyone by your high standards." "You're right. My apologies, Abigail. I was a bit harsh." "No need for apologies, Emily. You're remarkable, and that's the truth." But the Oliver standing beside me now felt like a stranger, joining Emily in her ridicule. Despite my urge to lash out, I forced a smile, hoping to maintain some semblance of peace. Eventually, Emily left just before midnight. The thought of cleaning up after their mess, especially when I hadn't contributed, felt overwhelming. Yet, as it was our home, I felt responsible for tidying up. Without a care, Oliver told me to clean as he headed to bed. "It's late, I'm off to bed. Abigail, you handle the cleanup." At that moment, my patience frayed. Why am I the only one expected to clean? The mess was yours and Emily's, so why shouldn't you be the ones to tidy up? Isn't it strange that you assume I'll do it? Oliver looked taken aback by my assertiveness but insisted I clean up. "I bring in more money, you know. Don't talk back when you earn less. If you can't accept that, maybe we should consider ending things." "Why are we even discussing money? That's irrelevant. You should clean up after yourself, and bringing up divorce over something so trivial, isn't that a bit extreme?" "Just shut up and clean. It's your responsibility," he replied, making his stance clear before retreating to the bedroom. Feeling unjustly burdened, I begrudgingly tidied up alone. By morning, Oliver's mood hadn't improved. I realized that trying to address our issues would only escalate the tension, so I chose to keep my distance. Despite my desire to patch things up with Oliver, we both left for the day without resolving our disagreement. That evening, as I returned home burdened by the weight of my professional and personal struggles, I knew I couldn't put off addressing the tension between us any longer. I was ready to extend an olive branch and apologize, no matter how he felt, with the hope of reconciling. However, as I opened the door, I was met by the familiar sight of the same coat from the night before. Voices floated from the living room, signaling that history was repeating itself. Not again, I thought, dreading yet another confrontation. My fears were confirmed when I stepped into the living room, where Emily and Oliver were enjoying drinks and making a mess. "Thanks for always working late, Abigail," We went ahead without you since you're never around, Emily said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. My resolve to reconcile with Oliver felt shaky at best, especially with Emily's presence making it seem like an impossible task. It was as if she were intentionally blocking any chance we had to clear the air. While my concerns went unnoticed by both of them, Oliver added his own jab. We had to start without you since you're always late. Can't you manage to come home earlier? Their blame was based on expectations we had never discussed. Just moments before, I had been determined to mend things with Oliver, but now that conviction began to waver. Why am I even trying with them? The thought echoed in my mind, marking a shift in my perspective. Caught off guard by Oliver's bombshell revelation, my emotions reached a boiling point. Wait a minute, what are you talking about? This is the first I'm hearing of Emily moving in. Can you explain? Oliver, surprised by my intense reaction, quickly reverted to his dismissive demeanor, encouraged by Emily's presence. Yes, it's news to you because I'm only just mentioning it, and yes, Emily will be staying with us. What about her husband? Are they moving in together? At the mention of her husband, I was met with, oh, you mean her ex-husband? Ex-husband? This is news to me. Suddenly, the pieces began to fall into place, albeit in a confusing manner. Emily had recently divorced, and with her ex out of the picture and her lease ending, Oliver saw this as the perfect arrangement. Why wouldn't you discuss something so significant with me first? My trust in Oliver plummeted as he casually revealed this decision while clearly inebriated. I pressed him for details, but Emily observed with a smug grin. Just go with it, Abigail, it's a done deal. No, I cannot accept this. What do you mean? Oliver was visibly taken aback by my refusal. You're the one crossing the line, Oliver, I asserted, fixing a stern gaze on both of them. Whatever you two are plotting, I want no part of this. You need to sober up and think it through. Rather than resolving our conflict, I retreated to another room, isolating myself as I had the day before. The next morning was disrupted by a commotion. I opened my bedroom door to find Oliver and Emily casually rummaging through my belongings. What are you two doing? My frustration from the previous day flared again. We're clearing out your things from this room. It's spacious and perfect for Emily. Makes sense, doesn't it? They ignored my protests, continuing to move my items without my consent. Did you forget our conversation from yesterday? Enough of this, seriously. And Abigail, where do you think you stand in all this? I'm the one paying the rent here. What gives you the right to challenge my decisions? Oliver snapped back, his voice dripping with disdain, while Emily looked on with a smug grin. I'm footing the bills, so your opinion, especially since you haven't contributed financially, is irrelevant. If you can't fall in line, maybe we should consider ending our marriage. The word divorce struck me like a thunderbolt. Divorce? He can't be serious. What is Oliver even saying? I was left dumbstruck, unable to process his harsh words. Emily, mistaking my silence for submission, added fuel to the fire. Do you even understand your situation, Abigail? You haven't contributed financially, so your stance holds no weight. Why keep up this charade? You're only embarrassing yourself now. Any fondness I had left for these siblings evaporated instantly. I was done with them, that much was clear. Let's take this discussion to the living room, I suggested, hoping a change of scenery might help. They grumbled but eventually agreed when I mentioned making coffee. After serving them their drinks, I turned to Oliver. I was clear yesterday, I never approved of Emily moving in. I want her things packed up immediately. What are you talking about? I've told you repeatedly, I pay the rent, so my word is law here. If you can't accept that, then maybe divorce is our only option. Are you okay with that? You keep saying you pay the rent and that this is your house, but Oliver, do you really believe that? I asked. Of course, what kind of question is that? He shot back. This house belongs to me. Are you making things up because you're upset? No, there's no fabrication here. This house was left to me by my father. After he passed, it became my property. I am the owner. Does that clarify things for you? His skepticism lingered. You're lying. If it was built by your dad, shouldn't it be old by now? Ever heard of renovations, Oliver? My dad had this house completely updated before his hospitalization. It looks new because of that. I never mentioned it before because it happened before we were married. The bold bravado they had both shown moments ago evaporated, leaving an oppressive silence in its wake. But I wasn't finished. With so much already said, I felt compelled to lay everything on the table, whether they understood or not. My patience had reached its breaking point. Even if you think you're paying rent, Oliver, you're not. What you've been covering are our shared living costs, not rent for this house. At this point, why would I bother lying? You've never been involved in the housing paperwork, so you've been clueless. Do you even know what the going rent is around here? You're just embarrassing yourself. From now on, I'll take over the rent payments. Are you even in a position to afford that, Mr. Unemployed? His confusion was evident. Unemployed? What are you implying, Abigail? It seems you haven't been prudent with your decisions lately, incurring significant losses, right? You might have thought you were keeping it under wraps, but your workplace knows all about it. Expect to hear from them after the weekend. They probably thought it was a secret. Oliver was visibly disturbed by my revelations. How? Why do you know this? His voice was barely above a whisper, a mix of shock and disbelief. I've kept it under wraps, but your employer is part of my family's business network. They've been lenient until now, but your actions have crossed a line. The decision has been made to let you go, and they informed me first due to the impact on our household. Oliver fell into an uncharacteristic silence, his face betraying shock. Emily, having overheard our conversation, looked equally unsettled. Wait, are you saying Oliver is going to be let go, and this house actually belongs to Abigail? Then, what about me? Where will I stay next month? Panic surged in her voice. I've already terminated my lease, she added, almost as an afterthought. It was clear she was trying to come to terms with the sudden shift in circumstances, whether her questions were directed at me or Oliver. This house belongs to me, and for the time being, I'm the one who decides who stays and who goes. I've reached my limit, Oliver. I'm taking you up on your offer for a divorce. There's no turning back now, and just to be clear, Emily, I have no plans to cohabitate with you either. Your living arrangements for the upcoming month are your concern, not mine. I'd prefer if both of you would exclude me from your plans. Whether they fully absorbed my words or not, I had made my stance clear. The ball was in their court, and I was washing my hands of their issues. Please return my belongings to their original places. After that, I'd like you to gather your things and leave. I can't bear the thought of seeing either of you again. By the end of the day, I had succeeded in removing them from my house. The last time I saw them was just before I handed everything over to my lawyers to ensure the separation process went smoothly. Oliver didn't protest much, likely realizing he had no ground to stand on. His acceptance made for a straightforward divorce process. I later learned that they both moved back in with their parents. The fallout for Oliver was significant. He faced a hefty financial burden from our settlement and additional repercussions from his professional missteps, working tirelessly to settle his debts. Meanwhile, I embraced a peaceful existence in the home my father left me, cherishing this newfound solitude and freedom, and planning to make the most of it for the foreseeable future.